American dream. To his last breath, he'll always be a soldier.
Heard on great radio stations all across America. It's the National Defense with Randy Miller and Jerry Newberry.
The National Defense is made possible by Ford, Go Further, by the Home Depot, More Saving, More Doing, by VSP. For more information on how VSP can help you and your corrective vision needs, visit VSP.com. By Morgan Stanley. Discover how they can help you achieve your long-term financial goals at morganstanley.com. By the Wounded Warrior Project, serving those who've sacrificed for over 15 years. Online at woundedwarriorproject.org. By WD-40 Company. Wherever there's a job to be done, WD-40 brand offers solutions to help you live life hands-on. By Farmers Insurance. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Find an agent at farmers.com. And by Gorilla Glue, makers of Gorilla Tape, for the toughest jobs on planet Earth.
Hey, this is the National Defense. It's Randy Miller and Jerry Newberry. And Jerry, as always, our dedication.
Hey, this show's for you, the men and women serving in our military. It's for the millions of veterans out there, and it's for all their families. We're here for you. We love you. God bless you.
And we had the good fortune a few weeks ago to be invited by the American Red Cross, who we love. We have them on the show all the time. They're great partners with us here on the program. They invited us to their main headquarters in Washington, D.C. to spend Veterans Day and to celebrate all the things that they're doing for the military, which are very extensive. I mean, it's amazing how many connections that the Red Cross and the U.S. military and veterans and their families have. And it was just absolutely incredible. And we want to thank them for having us there. Special thanks to Peter Macias, who organized everything. Koby Langley, of course, been on this show many times. You're going to hear from Koby here in just a couple of minutes. And we're going to play back some of the things that we did there when we taped the show in Washington, including sitting down with current VA Secretary Wilkie. So we got some answers to a lot of things, and we got to meet some donut dollies. And the world of donut dollies is incredible. I mean, women that served in Vietnam bringing donuts for the American Red Cross. It was just an incredible experience, and I hope you enjoy listening to some of the memories that we captured. Jerry, here we are. We're in the middle of it.
We are.
I mean,
no better place to be.
For Veterans Day.
Yep.
What a better place to be for Veterans Day weekend, invited by the American Red Cross, and we have learned so much just today about the Red Cross and the beginnings. And
isn't it amazing?
Yeah, it really is.
Everyone knows the name Red Cross.
Sure.
And, they have some sense of what they do, but,
yep.
We, like everyone else, really didn't know that much about the Red Cross when it comes down to it. And
I don't know if you can know everything about the Red Cross unless you're Koby Langley. I mean, Koby Langley.
That's the guy.
That's the guy,
he'll give
our
us
old
a
buddy.
lowdown. Yeah.
Koby, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Randy. Thanks, Jerry. I appreciate having me here.
I'm going to try to get through your title here. Do we have time?
I'm glad you're doing it.
Senior Vice President, Service to the Armed Forces, International Humanitarian Law. Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That probably takes a while to do all of that in a day, too.
It does. But it's a pleasure to be working with the Red Cross.
Do you sleep?
I'm still working on that one.
I was going to say, especially this time of year, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's there's so much going on, with Veterans Day, and this also happens to be, as you all know, the 100 year anniversary of the armistice,
yep.
And so we're very involved in making sure that we're honoring our part of the legacy in World War I. So it's a very busy time of year.
Well, you need to come to Kansas City sometime because we've got the best. Absolute best
yep.
World War I museum in the world.
Yes.
It is really outstanding, yeah. And as a matter of fact, just a little shout out to those guys. There's a special feature going on through Veterans Day where they have the Liberty Memorial, and the poppies are reflected on the memorial. It's really such a cool thing. Yeah.
Amazing.
It's really neat. Well, so talk about what you guys are doing this weekend and some of the events.
Sure. So this is actually the first year that the American Red Cross, as an associate member of the National Veterans Day Committee, was able to co-host the annual luncheon that occurs every single year for veteran service organizations and military service organizations that represent the National Veterans Day Committee. The National Veterans Day Committee was established shortly after, actually, World War II, and we were asked to help provide the theme as well as the recognition ceremonies around the country. And so they engaged the American Red Cross as one of the original members of that committee via presidential decree. And this is the first year that we've been able to host that group, that very well-esteemed group of veteran service organizations and senior military leaders and Department of Defense and Department of Veterans Affairs officials. And we're really happy to be able to do that this year with the American GI Forum. So we'll have a lot of folks here tomorrow and on Sunday to help celebrate Veterans Day.
Yeah, the GI Forum, that's a great organization.
It is.
I used to work with them quite a bit myself, yeah.
Yeah,
you guys work with just about every organization. It seems like everybody we have on the show, they've either been to the Red Cross or are going to the Red Cross, because we just had the president of the Gold Star Mothers on, and they had just done something here too.
Yeah, it's interesting because, as you know, the building that we sit here was built by the Army Corps of Engineers in 1917, and it is a dedication to the Civil War, more specifically to Civil War reconciliation. So the funds were raised by two organizations, and it was dedicated to reconciliation of the women in the North and the women of the South. And
I love the monument saying, the slogan that's on the wall too.
Yeah,
to the women of the North and the women of the South, and to their unification, which is great.
Yeah, and so this Red Cross Square is, and I feel, and I know Gail McGovern, our CEO, also feels, is an extension of the veteran and military family community. So anytime our veteran and military family service organizations, are looking for just a little bit of extra support,
right.
We definitely reach out to them and say, listen, this is part of your history too. Let's work together and see how we can help you.
We were lucky enough to go to a luncheon today.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you something. I don't know. I was really touched by it all because so many of those people in that room were in Vietnam and other places in the world. Took time out of their own lives to take care of the GIs or service members all over the world. And I mean, you talk about special people in that room.
The donut dollies.
Yeah.
And Jerry had proposed to most of them.
Yeah. There's a couple of them who were kind of giving me hard looks, too. So.
Yeah, catch his eye and just run out of the room. But, and every one of them had such a story. I mean, it's amazing that they could remember exactly where they were, what they were doing, and you can tell that was a special time in their life.
Yeah. It's an amazing piece of Americana, as I was saying before, that more people really need to know about. I mean, there are only a handful of organizations, 3 or 4 that really committed to recruiting and sending forward everyday American citizens with no military training into these combat theaters to take care of GIs. The American Red Cross has been doing it since the Civil War, and we still have people that are forward deployed in Djibouti, in Iraq. We have folks that we just
Kuwait. We just talked to somebody in Kuwait.
Yeah, Poland. And we continue this very, very unique service. And when we recruit, usually these very tenacious women like this wonderful young lady here to my left, we recruit these wonderful and tenacious Americans that are willing to go out there and serve our military communities in very dangerous situations. It's an amazing story.
Yeah, and the cost involved in that, there has been a cost in human life that most people don't know about.
Absolutely. Just in World War I alone, 400 American Red Crossers lost their lives.
Is that right?
Over 262 nurses alone. And, it is Vietnam, we lost some folks too. And it is a truly, we like to say that our commitment to the military and veterans is not in word and deed, it's also in blood.
Well, and I didn't know until, we got the history lesson today that a lot of the nurses that were first trained were trained by the American Red Cross, not by the government, not by the military, but by the Red Cross. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's right. After at World War I, that was really the start of a lot of it. There was a call to action to serve to help take care of the increasing number of war wounded. and we sent out a ship, the USS Red Cross, and wound up having over 170 nurses and other medical professionals after World War I that were effectively kind of the first emergency medical response corps, if you will, and that grew to thousands and thousands of Red Crossers over the duration of the war.
You know, I like to consider myself somewhat smart. A lot of people would argue that point, but I can't think. No other organization comes to mind that helps in so many ways across the board.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about donut dollies today, and
Right.
and
I just got an email from the Red Cross telling me to change my smoke detector.
Exactly.
I mean, seriously, that's the kind of thing you're talking about.
Floods, hurricanes, fires.
Koby, how can you guys do all of that?
It is a lot, and it's only through our volunteers, to be honest with you, and the generosity of the American public. Over 91 cents of every dollar that we spend on mission goes directly to mission.
Sure.
And we can only do that through private donations and through volunteers, quite frankly. The vast majority of our workforce are volunteers. And we engage tens of thousands of volunteers in responding to disasters, big disasters like Hurricane Harvey, the ones we just had on the East Coast in Florence. I mean, all that work that gets done on the ground is done by, your local neighbor volunteer that wants to be a Red Cross volunteer, and they come on board to redcross.org. They sign up. We send them through a little bit of training, and we call them when we need them.
And I'm sure you got people in California right now, huh?
We do. Yeah. We do. We actually have 2 teams that are standing up in California to respond to those wildfires. But that's how we do it. I mean, we do it through the generosity of our donors. And
I can't tell you how much it means to us to be here, Koby, and to be a part of the Red Cross team and get the word out about you guys, because it needs to be out there. And I don't know about you, Jerry, but since we've been here for a couple of days, I've given blood now 4 times.
They wouldn't take.
They're going to cut you off at some point.
I didn't realize. Yeah, I didn't realize.
They kicked me out of the room.
I'm kind of tired, to be honest with you. Koby, thank you so much, man. It's so great to be here, and it just feels like this is the right place to be for Veterans Day.
Yeah, special.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks. We'll be right back with the National Defense right after this word from Farmers Insurance. When you're dealing with life's ups and downs, it helps to know the ins and outs of insurance. Farmers Insurance has been sharing practical insurance knowledge for more than 89 years. At Farmers, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Find an agent at farmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Hi, this is Kelsey Grammer. When military service members head into battle, none are expected to face the enemy alone, but many return home and become isolated as they struggle with the visible and invisible wounds of war. It can be difficult knowing how to overcome that challenge and rekindle bonds similar to those formed in the military. Wounded Warrior Project supports these injured veterans through their recoveries by connecting them with fellow warriors and their communities. No one should fight this battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Black Friday may be over, but at the Home Depot, we're just getting warmed up. Right now, get up to 2 free power tools, up to a $318 value when you buy a select power tool kit. Choose from trusted brands like Ryobi, Makita, Milwaukee, Rigid, and DeWalt. If you missed out on Black Friday, don't miss out on this. Get up to 2 free power tools with the purchase of a select power tool kit. Now, at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Valid through January 23rd while supplies last. Limit 1 redemption per customer. See store for details.
This portion of the National Defense is brought to you by Gorilla Glue, the makers of Gorilla Tape. Gorilla Tape has a tough, reinforced backing and is made with double-thick adhesive that grips to smooth, rough, and uneven surfaces. With a weather-resistant shell, Gorilla Tape can be used both indoors and out, which is perfect for applications in the field, including duck blinds, tree stands, and tent repairs. Gorilla Tape and Gorilla Glue for the toughest jobs on planet Earth.
We're standing guard with the truth. The National Defense.
Welcome back to the National Defense. It's Randy Miller, and it's time now for a brand new Morgan Stanley Money Brief. I'm here again with Morgan Stanley financial advisors Ryan Chernock and Mike Fenneran. Last week, we discussed how you can help achieve your financial goals by understanding IRAs. And you guys gave us a great introduction to traditional IRAs, and the idea of deferring taxes is pretty appealing. But tell me about some of the downside to a traditional IRA. Mike?
Yeah, would love to. Good question. The major downside is you reduce the availability of this money. Your listeners need to view this portion of their financial assets as money they should not touch until they are over 59 and a half years old. They shouldn't even view this money as rainy day or emergency funds. If someone tries to pull out money out of an IRA before 59 and a half, he or she would pay a 10% penalty tax on the taxable portion of the distribution, as well as ordinary income taxes. The key to avoiding this situation and potential tax penalties is to consider this savings off limits until retirement.
That makes sense. And if I remember correctly, in a prior segment, we discussed the importance of building your emergency savings before you focus on retirement savings. So that's a traditional IRA. What about Roth IRAs? What's the difference, and why might an individual consider a Roth IRA?
Super question, Randy. There are many similarities between a Roth and a traditional IRA. The annual contribution limits are the same, meaning the maximum dollar limit and the earned income requirement are the same for traditional and Roth IRAs. Again, the annual contribution limit applies in the aggregate to all the traditional and Roth IRAs you own. However, unlike traditional IRAs, your eligibility to contribute to a Roth IRA is based on your modified adjusted gross income and filing status. Additionally, with a traditional IRA, you can't contribute after age 70 and a half, and you must begin taking distributions once you reach that age. With a Roth IRA, you do not need to begin taking distributions at 70 and a half if you are the original owner, but your beneficiaries will need to take required minimum distributions after your death. The other major difference is all potential growth inside the Roth IRA can be distributed income tax-free if certain conditions are met. So with the Roth IRA, you give up the current tax deduction for your contribution, but you gain the potential advantage of tax-free distributions of the potential growth of your money in the retirement years.
Okay, so Mike, in other words, you pay taxes on the contributions now and then have tax-free growth potential.
That's right, Randy. Although there are certain restrictions for Roth IRAs that may impact the tax benefit, so as stated before, it's important to consult a tax professional to understand whether a Roth IRA is right for you.
Yeah, great advice. Hey, let's shift gears just a little bit. I'd like to understand more on how the employer-sponsored plans fit into an individual's retirement planning.
Sure thing, Randy. Employer-sponsored plans are another way an individual can build their retirement savings. Employer-sponsored plans are a type of benefit offered to employees that provide another tool to save and invest for retirement. These plans are typically offered to qualified employees at little to no cost and oftentimes can be set up to automatically contribute each time the employee is paid.
It sounds like an easy way to save, so let's continue this next week. And speaking of next week, the all-important Army-Navy football game coming up. I suppose I don't have to ask you guys who you're rooting for.
Go Army, beat Navy.
Go Marines, beat everybody.
I knew that was coming. Thank you, guys. We'll be back here next week with a brand new Morgan Stanley Money Brief right here on the National Defense.
This radio program does not provide individually tailored advice. It has been prepared without regard to the individual financial circumstances and objectives of the persons who receive it. The strategies discussed may not be suitable for all individuals. Morgan Stanley recommends that individuals independently evaluate particular strategies and encourages them to seek the advice of a financial advisor. The appropriateness of a particular strategy will depend on an individual's circumstances and objectives. Tax laws are complex and subject to change. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, LLC, Morgan Stanley, its affiliates, and Morgan Stanley Financial Advisors and Private Wealth Advisors do not provide tax or legal advice and are not fiduciaries under ERISA, the Internal Revenue Code, or otherwise, with respect to the services or activities described herein except as otherwise provided in writing by Morgan Stanley and or as described at www.morganstanley.com/disclosures/DOL. Individuals are encouraged to consult their tax and legal advisors, A, before establishing a retirement plan or account, and B, regarding any potential tax, ERISA, and related consequences of any investments made under such plan or account. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, LLC, member SIPC. This portion of the National Defense is brought to you by Gorilla Glue, the makers of Gorilla Tape. Gorilla Tape has a tough, reinforced backing and is made with double-thick adhesive that grips to smooth, rough, and uneven surfaces. With a weather-resistant shell, Gorilla Tape can be used both indoors and out, which is perfect for applications in the field, including duck blinds, tree stands, and tent repairs. Gorilla Tape and Gorilla Glue for the toughest jobs on planet Earth. Did you know WD-40 Company has a product to get the trusted WD-40 formula into hard-to-reach places? WD-40 Easy Reach has a permanently attached 8-inch flexible straw that makes it easy to keep equipment working properly by bending around parts and getting into tight spots to lubricate and prevent rust. Pick up a can at Walmart, Home Depot, or AutoZone and learn more about this and other WD-40 brand products at WD-40.com.
Welcome into the National Defense. It's Randy Miller, Jerry Newberry. We continue our journey here at the American Red Cross campus, Jerry, and it is Veterans Day. What an extraordinary honor to have this person at the table with us on Veterans Day.
And it's so appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely.
That we have him today.
Yeah. We're talking about VA Secretary Robert Wilkie is here. How are you, sir?
I am fine. It's a wonderful day.
Thank you so much for taking the time today. It's great to talk to you. We've had your predecessors on the program, and so we kind of feel like it's our responsibility now to acquaint our audience every time with the new secretary. So let me start by saying thank you for your service, Navy guy.
Navy was and now Air Force.
And Air Force.
I got out of the Navy and I missed serving.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden I realized I couldn't get back in the Navy.
And the chow's better in the Air Force.
And
they have better golf courses.
That's right. Well, for those who don't play golf, it's harder in the Air Force if you don't play. No, it's wonderful. No, it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
And there's that's a tough job.
Yes, sir.
Second largest department in the government, and of course you inherited a plate full of problems.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. I will tell you what a tough job is. And I said this yesterday at the National Press Club, or the day before yesterday at the National Press Club. I am honored to sit in a desk that was once occupied by Omar Bradley. And I walk in every day, and I can't believe I'm in a position to do something like that, because he certainly was one of the great Americans of the 20th century. And he was the head of Veterans Administration during the Truman administration before he became the first chairman of the Joint Chiefs. And think about what confronted him. Within 8 weeks of becoming head of the VA, 11 million Americans demobilized.
Right.
11 million. He had to find or create a system to take care of them, to give them a health care system for the rest of their lives, in addition to taking care of those who were still alive from World War I and the Spanish-American War, and still the Civil War.
Wow.
So there's no problem that is intractable. And he did that with no computers,
right?
Telephones, paper, and carbon copies.
Yeah.
So that's quite a legacy.
That includes
a little daunting.
Educating.
That's right. With the GI Bill,
as
absolutely.
Medical care.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So some of the, we should just get down to some of the issues because there's many. We're big supporters of VA, just so you know that, because I rely on VA myself. I'm 100% disabled.
And I will say that despite anything that's said about the VA, Jerry raves about his care at the VA.
Yeah.
And so many do.
That's right. Well, that, Randy, is what I hear.
Yeah.
I was mentioned to you before we went on the air. I've been here 100 days. I've been in states from Alaska to Florida to Massachusetts to Missouri, Kansas, and Texas and Nevada. And when you get out of this town I'm in now, D.C., and you go to those VA medical centers, the experiences that you're talking about are manifest.
Sure.
The problem I see at VA is primarily administrative and bureaucratic. It's getting our veterans into the system.
Speaking Jerry's language.
Yes,
right? I hear what you're saying. Because bureaucrats are forever.
Yeah, and it's not the medical care. I'll give you an example as to why I say that and how VA is on the cutting edge. I had a meeting a few weeks ago with my counterpart from Canada, and I told him something he didn't know. We have a relationship with the National Hockey League, and that relationship is also with the National Football League. All of the stories that you've read, and you all are from football country, about traumatic brain injuries in professional football and professional hockey. They made a movie about the Pittsburgh Steelers doctor. All that research is conducted at VA in Boston.
Well, and it's amazing when you look at the history of VA, how many of the medical devices that are used every day now were engineered and developed by the VA.
Absolutely.
It's just incredible.
But on the other hand, quite frankly, that's a big concern because VA has been at the vanguard of all these medical breakthroughs. And there's real concern that with the recent VA Mission Act, that the VA all that may be diluted, and veterans might lose that.
Well, let me tell you what my view is. There is something about VA that we don't discuss when it comes to permanence. And that is what I call the communal aspect of VA care, the ability of someone, well, I'll give my father, an artillery commander in the 82nd Airborne Division, 30 years jumping out of airplanes and almost 3 tours of duty in Vietnam. And people of his generation, his world, can go into the VA and they talk to people who speak their language and have shared their experiences. The same applies really to any generation, but the majority of our folks right now are Vietnam-era veterans. That's a permanence that keeps VA really at the center of a veteran's experience. I also believe that the order that I signed when I was the acting secretary to create the new electronic health record does the same thing. I'll mention General Bradley, and this will put my remarks in context. In his day, about 35% of veterans' care took place outside of VA. I'm guessing that's what's going to happen. But it's important to remember that you all live in a place that has long distances. There are states like Montana and Alaska,
right,
where it takes, it's a 500-mile, 600-mile round trip to get to a VA facility. That's ludicrous. We have to give that veteran the opportunity to open the aperture on his health, and so that he's the center of his health care. Other example is here at D.C. Before I got there, they spent years trying to hire a transplant surgeon. He may do 2 transplants a month. Well, you're going to go see him, or can I let you go across the parking lot to MedStar where they do 50 a week?
Right.
I'm going to go where they do it for a living.
Right.
And we have to be able to allow that veteran to do that.
So there's no backroom deal that's been made that, listen, we're going to privatize VA.
No. And people, when they say that, leave out one part of the equation, and that's the United States Congress. If we're going to privatize VA, we're going about it in a strange way. And give you an example. In 2008, the budget was about $98 billion. Today, it's $200 billion. Right. The workforce then was about 230,000. Today, it's 370,000. Choice is not privatization. Choice is choice. Right. And again, my direction from the Congress, and you mentioned the Mission Act, is to ensure that the veteran is at the center of his health care decisions.
I've actually benefited from outside services. VA is, because of the time factor, they felt I needed a defibrillator. So they gave me a choice of 3 outside hospitals that I could go to, and chose one. They did the work, and So I've benefited from it. But,
and I want to say something about the electronic records.
Yeah.
We're very happy with the company that you chose.
Yes. They're right down the road.
Out of Kansas City, yes, Cerner.
As a matter of fact, when they were initially approaching VA with that,
right.
I took part in some meetings with them to try and educate them about the VA a little
right.
bit.
Yeah.
So let me tell you what this does, and one of the aspects. And look, I'm a technical idiot. I'm very happy with semaphore flags and a BlackBerry.
Right.
So I had to go get people who, some of whom have no contact with human beings. They live in basements, and all they do is computers.
Yeah.
And I let them go and say, "Tell me if this works." They said yes, but let's look at an issue that is having a tremendous and taking a terrible toll on veterans, and that's opioid abuse.
Oh yeah.
The way we've designed the electronic health record is if you go to VA in Kansas City and they give you 30 Tylenol 3s for whatever pain you have.
Right.
But then you decide, okay, I'm going to go to Mission, Kansas, and I'm going to get my doctor there to give me Ambien or something like that. Well, under the electronic health record, unbeknownst to you, that doctor is then going to punch that information into the electronic health record. It will be interoperable. So what happens back at the VA Medical Center? There's a doctor or a nurse who's looking at the computer screen, and all of a sudden a red flag is popped up. That veteran is now on the spectrum for addiction, abuse, or something worse. And that's the other answer to the privatization issue. And I actually talked with General Mattis about this today prior to the Arlington Veterans Day ceremony. That keeps VA at the center. Mm-hmm. Because the VA is not only scheduling appointments, it is monitoring everything that veteran does, and that's very big leap forward.
There is a concern that might have the same results as it's been reached with the VA and the Pentagon.
Yeah,
because there's been untold billions of dollars spent on trying to correlate the records there.
Well, I signed an agreement with the Secretary, my former boss. So I was the Undersecretary of Defense under General Mattis, to put these two programs on the same pathway. And it's fascinating to me that people are criticizing a relationship with defense, because this really doesn't work unless we start that record from the time that American enters the Military Entrance Processing Center. I'll give you an example. I'll use my father as an example. Big man, 6'2", 240. In the invasion of Cambodia, he was just shot to pieces. He came back to us after a year in an Army hospital weighing 115 pounds.
Oh, wow.
He comes out of service. Now, he goes back after 33 years of recovery, thanks to General Creighton Abrams and his intervention. He goes back to Fort Bragg. And after 30 years, he gets out of the Army needing 2 new knees, 2 new hips. He's got lead in his body from the invasion of Cambodia. He's got an 800-page record.
Wow.
We need to be able to capture electronically those histories, so that we know what we receive when that transition takes place. And I said it Friday at the National Press Club. The days of people like my father carrying an 800-pound record, that's criminal if we still do that.
Crazy.
800-page record, I should say.
And Secretary, we're talking to VA Secretary Robert Wilkie here in the National Defense. We're talking about the opioid situation. And I'll ask the marijuana question again to a VA secretary.
You took my question.
I know.
Yes.
Do you want
me to answer it before you ask?
Yes.
It is against the law.
Yeah, I know it's against the law.
And
however,
the evidence, though, now is getting to the point where it's hard to ignore.
Even though it's against the law, can't VA, suggest that perhaps there are better alternatives, because we all know there are. And in fact, we can't keep going down that road of prescribing opioids.
I am doing things that my father's generation would have thought either unimaginable or so offensive that they would have punched the messenger out if he delivered it. And I'm very much into alternative therapies, everything from yoga and Tai Chi to acupuncture.
Thank you for your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure. We'll have to do it again. I'm coming out.
That would be
coming
fantastic.
out to Kansas City. I think I'm giving a speech at the Truman Library.
Oh, are you really?
I think so. Yes, and I will come see you.
That would be great.
We'd love that.
And we'll treat you to some real barbecue, because I know you're from North Carolina, so you don't know real barbecue.
Living in Fort Sill as a child, I remember Hank Stram.
Oh, sure.
And Len Dawson and Willie Lanier.
Yeah.
And Buck Buchanan, and that Kansas City team, of course, it's one of the greatest teams ever.
Yep.
That was sort of Mid-America's team, the Great Plains team.
As it is today.
I just played
8-1.
Played golf with Len Dawson.
It's got to be like 83.
He's about 83, and he cheats like nobody's business.
Yeah, we played the scramble with him.
Yeah, we played the scramble with him. He gets a mulligan every hole. He calls it a Len Mulligan.
A Len Mulligan.
Yeah. Secretary, thank you so much.
Man. Thank you all for having me.
We'll be right back with the National Defense right after this word from Farmers Insurance. When you're dealing with life's ups and downs, it helps to know the ins and outs of insurance. Farmers Insurance has been sharing practical insurance knowledge for more than 89 years. At Farmers, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Find an agent at farmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
How do you thank the millions of men and women who have fought so bravely for our country over the years? At the Home Depot, we think it takes more than words. We believe the best way to show gratitude is to do gratitude. The Home Depot Foundation is committed to veterans and their families, improving their homes and their lives. Since 2011, we've invested $160 million to veteran causes and impacted over 26,000 veteran homes. By 2020, we'll grow that investment to $250 million. From simple wheelchair ramps to complete home makeovers, transitional housing, community support, we consider it a duty and a privilege to serve senior, wounded, and homeless veterans the best ways we know how. After all they've given us, it's the least we could do. $250 million by 2020. Doing more for veterans. Doing gratitude. The Home Depot. More saving. More doing.
Did you know WD-40 Company offers more than just a blue and yellow can? There's a line of high-performance WD-40 brand products developed for professionals that include degreasers, penetrants, and greases. The WD-40 Specialist Greases line includes a multi-purpose grease, a high-temperature grease, an extreme pressure grease, and a marine-grade water-resistant grease. The products are interchangeable with each other so they won't cause cross-contamination issues that compromise performance and effectiveness. Pick up a can at Home Depot and learn more about these and other WD-40 brand products at WD-40Specialist.com.
It's been called shell shock, war neurosis, and battle fatigue. Today, we call it post-traumatic stress disorder, and it affects 1 out of every 5 warriors returning from battle in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Wounded Warrior Project offers comfort and support for warriors with PTSD and all other scars of war, whether those scars are visible or hidden. Find out how to help, because for warriors, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. Please visit woundedwarriorproject.org.
We're standing guard with the truth. The National Defense.
Welcome back to the National Defense. It's Randy Miller, and it's time now for another Eye Insights with VSP Vision. And Dr. Josh Baker is back with us again to talk about night blindness. I know a lot of people affected by this. What exactly is night blindness?
Yeah, I think it's important for us to delineate. So there's something called night blindness or nyctalopia, which is referencing specific symptoms of a few very rare diseases where it is truly blindness, where they have a complete inability to see. That is different than, difficulty of seeing night, which is common for patients to experience for a number of reasons, including cataracts, refractive error.
Yeah, so what causes the night blindness then?
Night blindness, the true night blindness is caused by conditions that affect specific cells in the retina. These diseases are generally very rare genetic disorders such as retinitis pigmentosa, congenital stationary night blindness, and rod cone dystrophy. These conditions are genetically inherited. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot we can do to stop the disease process. When we manage these patients, we're trying to do everything we can to help them manage the change in their vision as it happens. For difficulty seeing at night, there's a large number of conditions that cause this, including refractive error, cataracts, a corneal scar, even a condition like glaucoma that can lead to difficulty seeing at night. And a lot of times we can manage this by correcting those issues. So if it's a refractive error, if we fit you with a good pair of glasses, we can have a dramatic effect on your ability to see at night. For cataracts, we can refer you to a cataract surgeon to remove the cataract lens, and that can have a profound impact on your ability to see at night. For glaucoma, that's a disease process. One of the important things for us to do is, one, identify that you have glaucoma and do everything we can to prevent loss of vision before you get to that point where you're experiencing difficulty seeing at night.
I was just going to say, can night blindness lead to total blindness?
In some conditions, unfortunately, it can. A few of the rare forms of retinitis pigmentosa and even glaucoma, if left unmanaged, can lead to total blindness. Some of the conditions we talk about that leading to difficulty at night, like cataract. If cataract were to go untreated, absolutely it can. If you look worldwide, cataract can be one of the number one causes of blindness, but it's one of the number one causes of blindness that can be treated. So even severe and advanced cataracts, once we manage the condition, the patient should return to good vision.
And can you drive with night blindness?
It really depends. Driving at night with any of these conditions is dependent, one, on the severity of the condition and our ability to manage the severity. Right here at the clinic, we have a special vision rehabilitation clinic where we specialize in evaluating patients with types of conditions and help them to determine, one, what activities can and should they work towards, and that includes driving. So in certain situations with patients with advanced disease where we might think that driving might be precluded, there are certain techniques and certain technologies that would allow them to continue to drive.
Wow. Well, and, you told us a few things about how night blindness can be treated. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think one of the most important things is if you start to notice a change in your vision, particularly at night, it may very well be something simple, or it may not be. What's critical is getting in to see your provider and let them know what your symptoms are and let them take a look and see, and just be certain that there isn't something more insidious that we need to monitor.
It's some great information and some great coverage that listeners can look forward to coming soon. Can you talk about your exciting news?
VSP is currently a vision carrier for hundreds of thousands through the Federal Dental and Vision Insurance Program, more commonly known as FedVIP. And now great news for military families and retirees. You'll be able to enroll in vision care coverage during federal benefit open season, which is November 12th through December 10th. Once enrolled, coverage will begin in January 2019. To do this, just visit choosevsp.com/TRICARE for more information.
So all they have to do is visit choosevsp.com/TRICARE for more information. Dr. Baker, thank you so much. We'll be back here next week with a brand new edition of Eye Insights.
This portion of the National Defense is brought to you by Gorilla Glue, the makers of Gorilla Tape. Gorilla Tape has a tough, reinforced backing and is made with double-thick adhesive that grips to smooth, rough, and uneven surfaces. With a weather-resistant shell, Gorilla Tape can be used both indoors and out, which is perfect for applications in the field, including duck blinds, tree stands, and tent repairs. Gorilla Tape and Gorilla Glue for the toughest jobs on planet Earth.
Welcome to F-150 Radio, the new 2018 Ford F-150. It doesn't just raise the bar, it is the bar. Dean, go.
I'm all about lowering the bar, like I only brush my teeth on Monday.
The new Ford F-150 lineup raises the bar by being number one in towing, payload, and torque. It can make you more capable.
Capable schmapable.
The new 2018 Ford F-150. It doesn't just raise the bar, it is the bar.
When properly configured, classes full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds GVW are based on Ford segmentation.
It's time to find the one, the perfect Christmas tree. And you do that at the Home Depot, where you'll be surrounded by a wonder-inducing selection of fresh-cut trees and greenery. You'll find the one, and then the Home Depot will net it and load it in your car for you. Or, if you want one brought to your door, you can order your live tree online and it will be delivered free. Fresh-cut trees and greenery. This is how we owe Christmas tree. The Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Continental U.S. only. Selection and prices vary by store. See store for details.
We're standing guard with the truth. the national defense.